Well, I'm finally going to bring this debriefing of last week's trip to Roaring Spring to an end here. After I had said goodbye to my Brazilian guests or visitors, uh, I they wanted to go to a regular restaurant in Altoona, maybe, or Hollidaysburg. I just wanted to go to the brewery and have a beer or two and then head home. So we parted company there, and it was lovely. It was really lovely the parting. But I went on down and stopped at the brewery. It was late for me. I'd already fed my animals. And I went in. It was Thursday. I usually go there on Wednesday. It was Thursday, and it was really quiet. There were few people there, but interesting. I knew almost every. Well, it turns out I think I knew everybody there, but I thought at the time, well, I know almost everybody here. The bartender was Jeremy Jack, and who's a great bartender. The way he treats people and talks to them, interested, and you couldn't ask for a better bartender. Uh, and the owner was there, and uh, the brewer, I should call him. He's not the owner, actually. Well, maybe he is. I don't know. He's the brewer, uh, and uh, and and they had they're now brewing dark beer once again, and the beers there have funny names. This one's called the Big Dirty, I think, is the one and you know it's the first. It was the beer 1 year ago, almost to the day. No, it wasn't to the day. It wasn't quite a year ago. That was probably the beer that I drank that I thought, wow, now this is real beer. Of course, unpasteurized, uh, on tap, and and that was an awakening for me. And he brews it seasonally and only in the winter and or early spring, but it's come around, and I was able to relax because the visiting was over, and I now had all this stuff to digest, and I didn't necessarily have a plan. Just have a beer, and then head home, uh, which I did. It was lovely, and I should say a shout out. I'm going to start using that word, I guess. A shout out to the Spring Dam Brewery, because really for the last year, what started all this interest in Roaring Spring, or reawakened it, was when I found out that there was a brewery, a microbrewery that served beer in Roaring Spring. I haven't mentioned this for a while, but Roaring Spring and the whole Morrison's Cove area was dry ever since Prohibition, for 100 years almost. Uh, they never went back to allowing liquor or beer to be served publicly in this vast area. But Roaring Spring had passed a referendum. They put it to a referendum that passed to allow there to be a microbrewery. And what a good move that was. And I realized almost immediately, wow, I got to go there. I'm talking a year ago. I got to go in there and see what that's like. Because that was going to be, it wasn't for the beer. That was going to be a place where people could get together and talk. Uh, and now it turned out the beer was marvelous and is. But uh, from there, almost everything else that's come out with my Roaring Spring campus of Frank's School really had its birth in the creation of that brewery. It had been there for maybe 3 years, maybe four, before I even found out about it. So I don't know, maybe reflected on that a little bit, but I talked to the bartender. Oh, well, I had a guitar with me in the car, and I said, because just in case the bartender was there, because he's a musician, Brother Jack, he goes by, and he and a friend of mine down the road and I may form a little sort of a band called Jeremy Jack and the Gaffers. Uh, we talked about that, doing really folk music, country music, and I mentioned a guitar, and I said, I have four guitars. I never play any of them. I think a couple of them are really good, and I don't need four. I'd like to give one away. And I thought, I wondered if there was any chance that the brewery would like to have a house guitar I'd gladly give it to the brewery, or I'd give it to him. It was a Yamaha, or it is. And he was interested. I went out to the car and I brought it in and showed it to him, and he said, "Yeah, that's a nice guitar." And he talked about the value of it. I didn't care, but anyway, it turned out that the one I had in the case was one that was playable. The one I want to give away is missing a string, or has a string that really needs to be replaced, and I'd left it here at home. So I didn't leave the guitar off, but it seemed to me that the brewer, Mike, he was amenable to that idea of having a house guitar. And he looked at it and he said, "Yeah, that's a Yamaha." So that was lovely. And another thing with Jeremy, I had brought in a song list of songs that I could sing. I hate to say perform, but I could sing, and basically I knew the words, and they were all pretty simple songs. Songs like "Old MacDonald Had a Farm." I mean, a whole list like that. Well, he looked at it and he photographed it and photographed the other side, and he said, "Yeah, I really like that," and so something may come of that. So that was pleasant. I've got the list back here, and I keep adding to it. I got to check to see if oats, peas, beans, and barley grow is on that list. That would be another example. And I was ready to go, or getting ready to go, but I think by now it was getting pleasant enough that I decided I'm going to have a second beer. I usually only have time for one, but I was relaxed, and because the animals were taken care of. And a guy walked up to me, and he's one that two of them had been sitting there, and I think they were getting ready to leave. I didn't recognize him. He walked up to me and he said, "Are you the guy that we talked to?" I can't remember exactly what he said, but then I realized, yes, I remember that. There were two brothers, and one of the first conversations I had when I was first there about how good the beer was and stuff was with these two guys, and here it was almost a year later. He remembered everything about me. He said, you went to Harvard, didn't you? And I said, "Yeah," and I hated it. Don't forget that. And you're a school teacher, and you're 80, or he remembered everything of our conversation. I remembered some. I remembered that he and his brother, he was from Baltimore. I said, "Yes, I connect you with Baltimore somehow." And he says, "That's right. He comes from Baltimore up to visit his brother who lives real near here, and they drive around to various little breweries as kind of a hobby." And so we had a pleasant conversation. But then I was the one that ended it because I decided I really better go. 2 beers is going to be enough. I'm driving home at night. And so I might be forgetting something major, probably am. But so this remarkable double-day trip to Roaring Spring and back ended quietly as I got home okay. Bye for now.